Hey everyone. I've been recording
Hi,
this
Dave.
entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always are.
Yeah.
It's okay.
How's the week going for everyone?
Well, better now that's over.
It is over.
Yeah.
Today we have a special guest, Mr. Shane. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
His first name's actually Shane.
My first name is Shane.
Just not to confuse our listeners.
Okay,
Yeah, with the other Shane.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Shane. I am an engineer at ECS. I'm one of the BMW engineers. I work alongside these fine fellows.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Mike's out of town. I think we mentioned that last week that he was going to be. So he's up, probably currently in the act of drifting. He went back for that and some other events. So we asked Shane to join us and talk about stuff.
I was at the bottom of the list.
And,
There's no one else. So
I don't know. Probably be scumbagged into something here.
Yeah.
At some point in the next hour. Just going to give him a hard time about all the things he doesn't participate in.
I figured this was just going to be like an hour of Kevin trying to convince me to drift.
Yeah, you're going to get,
Yeah.
Not just Kevin.
Yeah, we should, yeah.
Yeah.
You should
Okay.
do that anyways.
Well,
All right, well,
On to
daily ramblings.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, you start because
Yeah,
That's
well,
how we do
have,
it now.
We have an order now.
The pause at the beginning of the last video was kind of funny.
Kevin Dad says we have an order. Well, Corrado update. I pulled the entire ignition system off of it, which was the MSD conversion that I had, and threw the stock stuff on just to see if that would eliminate the issue,
what issue?
the misfire issue at a high RPM.
Oh,
Yeah, we talked about this. Where
yeah.
were you last week, Kevin?
yeah. I thought
Kevin
I
doesn't
thought it was
listen to me
fuel
a lot.
related. Now it's ignition related.
It was either one of those, so it ended up being ignition related. I put the stock stuff back on, and now it's fine. So I have to revisit my MSD conversion and probably create some new bracketry and some
I'm
wire.
guessing it was probably user error.
Why don't you just leave it stock?
Well, I probably will for the time being, but
What's wrong with stock?
He wants that hotter spark for
Well,
no reason.
I don't. For as much as I drive the car, yeah, you're right. Right? no, you are.
Dude,
but
my
like the
red coil
common-
packs, man.
Common failure point on VRs is the coil packs. The genuine ones have a tendency to crack under high heat, and then they just get ruined essentially and cause all kinds of misfiring issues.
Well, if you change them like every normal amount of time, you'll probably be fine.
In my opinion, that's not a maintenance item.
No.
It's like it goes bad and then I'll replace it. I'm
that's-
never going to replace coil packs
Just
preemptively.
carry a spare in your trunk.
Yeah,
and
they,
you'll be good
that's
to go.
that's the most.
Well,
I would do
that
for
was
sure.
the reason I switched over to the MSDs in general, was because I got the kit from secondhand from the guy on
Meanwhile,
Facebook.
you haven't driven the car like
I drove it-
consistently for a year because of like this stupid spark issue.
No, I've driven it. It's just I drive it like once a week, and it's fine.
I might be stretching it, but okay,
whatever.
All right.
But yeah, no. Yes, I do like the MSDs because of the way they look, obviously, right?
I can't argue with that.
I mean, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
Do they not have like a 2OT coil conversion for that?
No, because it's plug and wire. It's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not.
I
Coil
see. Gotcha.
pack. But so yeah, I'll revisit that at some point. I might just do some. I'll make a new bracket for it and buy new coil packs if I ever get to it. If the one that's on there ever goes bad,
Did you ever
I'll-
test your wires to make sure they weren't just like
Yeah.
grounding out on something?
The whole thing needs readjusted because when I bought the kit, I just kind of like finagled some stuff together, like made some new wires and stuff. But I think there's a discrepancy somewhere that I need to revisit, so I can do a better job. Is what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
so I'll have to revisit that and do that. Mark IV update. It's being sold today. I have to meet a guy at my house at like this later this evening.
Do you have the title?
Yes, I do. Unlike Kevin.
He'll have his title
He's
faster
gonna
when
fight
Kevin's
me.
got his.
Ooh, what's that? Kevin,
don't
get
know.
that shit out of there.
Oh, interference.
I don't think it's me.
No, it's definitely you.
What are you gonna do? Stop.
Well, I fixed it.
I'm trying to look up the 2OT coils for.
Yeah, well, we can hear
That's
all
the
the
thing.
data in the air.
I'm on Wi-Fi. Get off my back.
Corona instead.
What now?
What are you gonna do? Buy a Crown Vic to drive through winter? Or?
Absolutely, you
Ooh,
should.
yes.
Why are
you
you
need
selling
We
to.
need
your
to start
Crown Vic?
talking about Winter
Oh.
Beater 2020.
Oh yeah, now was a good time to do
It's a
that.
good time. Stop thinking about it.
Well, I haven't really decided yet. The kid's gonna come today, and title's already signed and ready, and we already agreed on a price. So I'm pretty happy with the price. I've had the car for 7 or so years, and it's been fun. And it's time to get something else to ruin.
Excellent. Something right wheel drive.
We'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. Maybe not right away, but maybe. Moto 4's fine. It's been pretty
Smoking less
Gone.
these days?
Gone
Yeah, there you go.
completely.
You just
Runs
need to
great.
run it in.
good.
Yeah.
Runs great now.
Good.
I drove it to get the ice cream. the other day.
Nice. Did
Yeah.
you? All right.
Because the Strickland's is right down the street from my house, so I just floor it down the street and go get ice cream.
I've
Some guy-
taken the XR80 to go get barbecue before.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
One of the guys, I pulled up to the ice cream place, and one of the guys, oh man, I haven't seen one of those in years. He goes, that's the way to do it right there. And I was just like chuckled and went and got my ice
Just this
cream.
dude riding down the street on this
Right.
little 4-wheeler licking ice cream cone.
Right.
That's a sight.
So yeah, everything on my end is pretty okay. I don't know. I'll probably pay off a few lingering bills that I have with the Mark IV money currently.
Smart choice.
That sounds too reasonable.
No.
No,
No.
it needs to
That's
be
a good
done.
thing.
And
You
I'll
don't feel
probably
guilty
save
for
some.
spending money on car parts that you don't need when you took care of your bills.
Yeah, but funny story. The kid that's actually buying it is one of the friends of the same kids that bought Parker's Mark IV like a few weeks ago.
Oh, really?
So they're essentially going to live together again at someone else's house.
That's funny.
So
FYI, Parker's his like neighbor,
yeah,
Roommate.
roommate neighbor.
Thing,
They share
kind
like
of.
we have a
a
duplex.
split.
He lives
Yeah.
in the other half.
Mhm.
I live in one half. But yeah, other than that, everything's pretty good on my end.
Good.
Yeah, Kevin.
Well, got another text message.
Here we go.
Said he was going to meet. We sent him the power of attorney forms to swap over so I can get the title. And he said he'd have it sent out today. And that was what, Tuesday he sent that?
Mhm.
I said, did you get the paper on like Sunday? And then Tuesday he responded, yes, I got it. I'll be sending it out Friday. And I actually texted him today, and he responded within like an
Ooh,
hour
didn't
and said,
take him a week?
I
All
said, are
right.
you going to be shipping that out today? And he said, yes. So
Nice.
I
A response is a step in the right direction. That's for sure.
I started to do some more research on what it actually takes to get a title through the courts,
Mhm.
and it looks like it's about $350
Yikes.
and about 12 weeks of
that
back and forth.
sucks.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well,
At least you heard
Progress.
from him. Yeah,
progress.
Maybe.
String you along a little longer.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
He'll get sick
Um,
again.
So did he actually have COVID?
I don't know. I don't
Call
care.
the hospital.
Yeah, whatever.
Did you have a
Not-
patient by the name?
I'm pretty sure that's not. You can't do that.
No,
Anyway.
I'm
No,
his
you can call them, they
sister's
just can't tell
brother-in-law. Yeah, you can call.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Drift event on Sunday went really well. Like, no issues at all. Just drove all day. And
I didn't shatter a wheel this time, so that was
yeah,
good.
That's
Yeah.
true.
It's really good. Yeah.
Felt like I was getting really close to Mike, but every video I look at, I'm like,
Oh man, that's the
10
worst.
feet
I saw
away,
a bunch
I'm
of
like-
that drone footage come out, and I'm like, oh, look at this sick drone footage. I was like, wow, 12 miles away from everybody.
but I don't know. I felt like I was on his door, and yeah, maybe it's just a certain period of time I gotta wait. But
Well, you only ever get good footage of like the
Yeah,
worst runs
yeah.
too. So
so I don't know. We finally matched up on tires, and things were much better. So sticking with the Kendas from now on. 245 is the sweet spot for the E36. What else did I do? Put new wheel bearings on the 1 Series, front wheel bearings.
Yep.
It needs injectors. As I changed spark plugs and bank 1, which has old Index 7 injectors, kind of look different than the rest of them. Here's 2 that are pretty dark compared to the other ones. So that's $600, $700, whatever, for 3 injectors. So that's
have you
stupid.
tried just like recoding them? Does that
It's
anything?
anything other than Index 12 on N54 is just not good. That it took them 12 revisions to get this right, and it's
Yeah.
stupid. And they used to be affordable. Like a couple years ago, they were like $100 a piece, and now
Okay.
you're
Because that was the last time that I was involved
Yeah.
with doing that on our shop car.
so
and I
now
remember
the cheapest you can find them is about $225.
that's insane. Because
Oh, wow.
yeah, I remember I was like thinking, I was like, I didn't think it was that expensive. I mean, I knew it's not pocket
It's-
change, but
it's
still, I'm like,
ridiculous.
and then you
That
said
it goes up over twice what it was. It's like
That's
for something
that
that
is
was
ridiculous.
warranted for a period of time.
Right.
I'm out of warranty now. I can't get the recall because I have too many miles in my car. But so that's dumb. Whatever. I'll figure it out. Trying to prep that car for a tail of the dragon and not have it blow up because just waiting for some kind of N54 failure to hit me.
Yeah.
And take me down.
I don't know. Worst case scenario, we could do what we did with Mike 2 years ago and just have like parts overnighted or something like that.
Never know, man. I don't know.
And like I said, I think there's always the backup plan of hopefully being able to fit something in the trailer if we need to. Yeah.
If we really have to do it.
What if my car dies? I'm so kind of banking on a trailer for my car.
Well, do better. You have an E36. There's no reason for that to not run perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nothing's going to happen to that.
I'm worried about it.
It's fine.
I always worry about it.
You'll be fine.
It's not an N54.
Yeah. It's a simple car. It'll be fine.
That's the easy one to fix.
Yep.
We know lots about that one. I can't go get MOSFETs for the ECU on my car if I'm stranded somewhere.
You could find some old Radio Shack, probably.
Okay. We went down to the Taylor Dragon.
I think if you found a Radio Shack,
there's
that
one
would
left,
be impressive
probably.
in itself.
There's probably
What
one left.
years? You can't find anything around there, like, at all. There's nothing for a pretty good amount of miles around the Taylor Dragon.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
the
a very
grocery
remote
store was like
yeah.
a 30, 40-minute trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like I tried to find a fuel pump. Just a Bosch 044, like super common
Basic
fuel pump.
bitch fuel pump. Yeah.
Most places should have it. Nothing. You can't find any place that has any kind of like car parts, or especially performance parts around there. It's really bad. What else did I do?
That's good.
Ooh, I got a new CDI box, and
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Jam it in?
not yet.
Oh.
I just got the carb today. so
Okay,
I have
after
to go,
podcast. Sounds
I have
good.
to go put the jet in from the carb because I bought a new carb because I wanted a new jet because I drilled the other one out.
Right.
And it was cheaper than buying a whole carb was cheaper
With
than buying the jet kit
Yeah.
because eBay.
Yeah.
So we got a new CDI for that. So Race Squad should be up and ripping soon, and we'll actually get to play with the carb instead of play with the carb with a bad CDI box, which basically got me nowhere.
Yeah. You're chasing your tail there.
Yep. Other than that, just did a
Cool. That could rip tonight. That's exciting.
yeah, potentially. I think that's all I did.
Okay. I didn't do a whole lot. I did, what did I do? Went through some tires at the drift event, so picked up some more burners, swapped out all the old stuff, put on new ones. Messed with the truck a little bit earlier in the week, changed the fuel filter, changed front shocks, and haven't gotten around to doing like ball joints and everything yet because that one's going to suck the most, and I made the mistake of saving it for last.
I still haven't done that.
Yeah, it's going to suck. I'm not really looking forward to it, and it won't fit on our alignment rack, so I'm just going to have to give it to somebody else anyways. So.
Yeah, that's probably a job you don't really want to do.
Yeah, I probably just don't want to do it anyways. So honestly, there's certain things that are just, even though you can do it yourself, it's just not fun. So did that. XR80 is a part to replace the front wheel hub and brake assembly, and also put those fork seals in. So hoping to have that done either this evening or tomorrow at some point. And I think that's it. I don't want to take up too much time because we have a lot of catching up to do with Shane. I want to give him a chance to give some background, some of your projects, some of the stuff you've been working on, and yeah. So I'm just gonna hand it over to Shane.
So what do I do? Just complain about the stuff that I've been doing, or what?
Well, first of all, like,
is that what you've taken from this so
Yeah, I
far?
don't know.
So
Wow.
I guess in
All
order to
right.
give our listeners a little bit of a background, we've been trying to scumbag Shane because he's like the last person in the office that doesn't have like a Moto 4 or tiny anything. But you're way more into the mountain biking, things like that, and so
You should get a trials bike like Mike.
Well, you could do that. That
yeah,
would
but
be an
no, I
acceptable
will say
entry
the
to
mini
the Tiny
things-
Quad Squad.
The mini things are amazing and very fun. I do not have a way to transport one.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But
Yeah, come on.
Some creative ideas for how to transport a Moto 4 or a F30.
I've told you this many times. We can easily make a hitch.
Yeah, like
So-
for the little like rascal scooter on the back of the.
I
Yeah.
have one.
Yeah.
yeah, so do I.
Yeah,
I have one
that's
sitting
what
at
I
my
said.
parents. You
I
can just
built
have
it to fit the quad on. It fits. I have a ridiculous looking picture of the quad on it though, and I'm like, wow, it looks stupid.
If you
behind
buy
the
one,
wagon.
you'll figure out a way to get it around.
And actually, the Harbor Freight makes those hitch receivers for like dirt bikes and quads and everything,
Yep.
and they're rated for 500 something odd pounds.
You can
and
even just get a tiny
they're,
trailer.
they're like $120. They're so cheap.
I used to tow a trailer with my E36.
Yeah. No, I think
what we're saying here is you have
I know. I
no
need to buy one.
excuses.
I need to buy one. I have no excuses. They are
Um,
building up. I'm not an impulsive buyer until I am an impulsive buyer.
Yeah,
Like
no,
I'll
we just need to
impulsively
find the
buy
right
like
link.
everything else.
So
You
basically,
just
what we need to
catch
do
me.
is we just need to have Kevin send you one and say, "Hey, buy this."
He's in the
No.
Tiny Quad Squad. He's in
Yeah.
the Slack
Yeah,
group.
no.
So
No, it didn't work. If you just send me one, I
I guess
ignore
we
them all
just
the
have
time.
to direct it.
Yeah, that's
at
what
you
I thought.
harder.
That's what I thought too.
I think
and
I'm
then
gonna have
ended
to
up with
actually
one.
purchase it for Shane,
Yeah.
and then it's be like, here, I bought this for you. Now pay me.
I mean, that worked with the eBay Turbo. And
That's
it's
it.
like, hey.
oh yeah. So you can talk about that a little bit.
There's
so,
ways to impulsively get me to buy stuff.
So actually,
And that is, you just found a turbo and you're like, hey, I'm going to make an offer on this. I'm like, I guess I'll pay you for it. So I have an eBay Turbo now for.
So yeah, actually,
that's
funny
blowing smoke.
backstory to the E36, your M3, is that it came from the same place that my E39 came from, which is Mike's buddy back home, who we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast momentarily. So yeah, you could mention how that came to be.
Yeah, so when I first started at ECS, I had never owned a German car or
Me
knew
neither.
anything about them. And the thing about working around a bunch of car people is when you bring up buying stuff, no one ever gives you good financial advice. Everyone's like, yeah, just do it, fucking do it, man, just go buy it.
You're the one that bought a Subaru.
Yeah, you did
I had the
also
Subaru
already have a
before.
Subaru. We're
I
like,
had-
get rid of that.
Yeah.
Isn't it about time
Good.
for head gaskets on that?
No, it's gone. It was a lease.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
guess I just never.
He
noticed.
only owns BMWs now.
Yeah. Fancy.
Yeah.
Oh,
How the tides have turned.
Set 25-year-old BMW and a base model F30, but we're moving up.
Right.
But yeah, so I was like, yeah, I think I want a project car. And everyone's like, yeah, just do it. I'm like, I don't know. And then longer goes on, you get egged on. And then Mike went back home, I think, for Christmas, back to the family. And he just started sending me text messages of like, hey, here it is. It's running. And I'm like, oh, man.
Because I remember,
Maybe.
so that one and a red one, I believe, were both at the shop
Yeah,
for
there was
sale
a
when
E36
Mike and I
M3.
went to buy the E39s, and he's like, yeah, if you know anybody who would be interested in these, they're for sale. And we're like, well, yeah, we'll ask. And we got back, said something to Shane. Shane was like, kind of flip floppy, wishy washy on it. And then come Christmas time, Mike goes back home and like starts sending them like offers and everything, like making them come to an agreement here.
yes.
I knew what the
good
prices
old
were.
scumbag.
I knew
Yeah.
the prices were because there was an E46 M3 and an E36.
Mhm.
So,
I just want to go on the record here and say I'm glad that you bought the E36 and not the E46.
me too.
It's a little windy. And I'm not
I like the
complaining at all.
E36s.
Windy.
But yeah, so it was
Windy.
Christmas. He sent me that video, and I was like, okay. And then I think was it that March, I think? Yeah, I think it was a couple months later. I was like, well, I'm just going to take out a loan. So I just took out a loan. I'm like, Mike, when can we go out the road back to your home to get this car? And he's like, let's go 2 weeks. So we flew out and
Yeah.
spent a week with his family, which was interesting.
You were there for a week?
I think so, because he went back because it was
Jeez.
his mom's birthday.
Oh, okay.
So I just kind of was like in
Tag
all their
along,
family
yeah.
events. Like got the car, got a helicopter
Yeah,
tour.
your trip was way better than mine. I
Yeah.
saw that helicopter trip you went on.
Helicopter
I was like,
tour.
dang, I want to do that.
That's like my favorite thing
I
to do,
know.
honestly.
I totally just inserted
Had some
myself
hot
until their
chowder
family
in the
event.
helicopter.
Yeah, whole family, and it was just me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's go. We're going on a helicopter ride. Okay.
Is that, your,
going out
first,
to these
is that your
birds.
first time?
My parents would do the same
Yeah.
thing.
Have we all been in helicopters here?
Nope.
No.
Those
Okay.
are-
That was my first
Well,
time.
if you ever
Helicopters are the sketchiest air vehicle.
I know. That's why it's cool. If you ever get a chance and you're anywhere and they offer helicopter tours and it's like less than $100, try it at least once because it's a good time.
Because it'll be the junk helicopters.
No, dude,
the
it's-
cheap ones.
So I went to what, Kelly's Island, I think, or whatever.
Where's that?
Up by Lake Erie, I think it's called.
Okay, that's why
Or
nobody else is
Putin
going to
Bay.
know this.
Putin Bay,
Ohio.
sorry. And we were there for one weekend for my mom's birthday, and they were like, "Oh, we're doing $40 helicopter tours," and I was like, "Yup, it sounds
Yeah,
like
$40
a good."
bucks.
Ooh, it was good.
That would have my consideration for
It
sure.
was like one of
but
those real small. Choppers.
that is still the thing that sketches me out because like as I've gotten older, and maybe this is like an irrational fear, but like I've flew on planes like my whole life.
Yeah.
Every year, some trip somewhere, something or other, and it's never sketched me out. Now, as I've gotten older, since I went through college, as an engineer and everything, I am like so terrified of
Yeah,
flying now,
yep.
just because I'm like even stupid little stuff like at like amusement parks, the swinging chairs on chains.
Yeah, I won't get on those anymore either.
I just think about like the material properties and all
Yeah.
this other stuff, and like how like fatigue works, and like how like the swinging chairs like just all it takes is one link.
It's
just
gonna
one
fail.
link needs
It's
to
gonna fail
fail,
at
and
some
then
point.
I'm on my ass. And then like planes that you're relying on so many people to like do their jobs and inspect things and maintain things, and I just can't get all these thoughts out of my head. So like it's super sketchy. My point being, helicopters, like, while interesting, and I do want to ride in one, like the planes, even then, those are sketching me out. But, engine failure, at least they kind of like can freaking glide, right? And but helicopters, I mean, you're toast, man.
You lose that tail and you're done.
Either or, yeah.
I guess you lose either one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it was very fun and the views were good, but yeah, I kept looking up at the rotor the whole time. I'm like, there's no getting out of this. I'm in a death capsule.
Thing.
Like,
it's the weirdest
at least
thing.
planes, yeah, you can glide, and my brother's an airplane mechanic.
Yeah.
Your
brother's the guy I'm worried about. Like, what if he had an off day? Like, what if he's just
even
like
if he had
pissed
an
off
on
at his
day,
company
like-
or something?
So
an
it's
on day,
equally
sure.
good.
People make
Yeah.
mistakes.
It's equally good and bad knowing what he does to planes and some of the sketchiness that goes along with repairing a plane. 'Cause he's a great mechanic, but even though he's like,
not.
oh yeah, I just whatever, tape this.
I
up
leave
and
in a
sent
month
it.
to go to Utah, and I'm like,
There's-
now that we're talking about planes, I'm like, oh.
There's
Shane,
also
keep
like
going.
an extreme amount of redundancy in planes.
I know there
that's
is.
true.
I know. But, like I said, it's just this whole time, this is like my thoughts. A 3-hour flight, I've spent 3 hours thinking about all these stupid things.
That's why you drink and sleep.
That would be ideal, but I can't sleep either.
Planes I
so
trust though. Helicopters,
I can
they're
drink.
just kind of fun. Yeah.
I don't know. Helicopters are fun. Planes, I guess
I'm not saying I wouldn't do
really,
it,
I
but
don't really think
I
about
probably would have a lot of anxiety.
I've never really thought about it that much, except like those few times where I've gotten a window seat on a plane and I see like 3 bolts missing off the wing, and I'm like, ugh. Like,
Hopefully they're not using bolts at all.
Well,
Yeah,
rivets,
there shouldn't be any bolts in
regardless,
there.
rivets
yeah,
or whatever.
but,
Yeah. So
that I think it's also partially due to like just not being in control.
yeah,
Something like that.
You do anything in life, and you're taking a risk to some point, so
Right.
you might as well not be
Yeah,
scared.
but you're not
of
30,000 feet in the air driving.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm less concerned about planes. Also working on like my previous life, like de-icing systems for aircraft, like
Oof.
the wing structures and everything. So I'm just like kind of somewhat comfortable with it. Doesn't freak me out as much, but
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Speaking of previous work history, what are your qualifications for being on CAD to cars?
Well, I previously worked in shit pumps.
Shit pumps.
So I mean,
That's it.
that's how I kind of transition. Yeah, I worked on designing water pumps, and here I am working on cars.
I'm
So I
saying
don't know
that.
what
I mean, that was good
qualifications
enough.
are.
Just
Yeah,
ship
no,
pumps.
that's-
Yeah, no, ship pumps.
That's a
you're-
hard
you're
job. That's a
approved.
hard job
You're
too.
approved.
My dad worked water treatment for a long time, and so he knows
Qualified.
Qualified. Stamp.
So
Stamp.
he,
I got hired, so apparently I was qualified enough.
so yeah, I've grown up with hearing about that stuff, and it's not an easy job.
So yeah, I think that's. Oh, so anyways, I think the whole thing got
I know.
sidetracked
yeah,
because
helicopters.
yeah. So we were talking about you getting the M3, and the fact that you were scumbagged into buying a turbo recently.
Yeah.
Courtesy
so,
of Will.
So your current modifications and future plans are.
So current for modifications. So when I got the car, it was pretty much stock. Had Coney shocks and springs on it. Since then, every suspension, bushing, and thing has been touched. So everything is done. The only thing I haven't touched is the engine and E36 M3s. While fun, I don't like the power curve. It just doesn't make a lot down low, and I need the boost noises and the power.
Why do you?
Kevin's phone is just.
It's nothing to do with it.
So I want to do a turbo, and I always talk about doing a lot of things, and I never do anything.
Wow, you sound like me.
Well,
Welcome
that's
to
not
the
that's
talk
not
about it,
entirely
don't do
true.
anything about it.
You start most things, you just don't finish.
I just kind of dabble. I don't really
Yeah.
dive in
Yeah.
until I just get like somehow I get an impulsive, just like
Case in
I'm gonna do
point,
it, and-
case in point, your wide body kit you designed for the M3, but just didn't make.
Ooh.
yeah,
I didn't know that
well,
was a
wide
thing.
body flares, but yeah,
Well, whatever.
the design's done. That's about
just
it.
bailed.
Yeah, bailed. Well, the body wasn't rusty, so I didn't want to I felt guilty
Chop it
cutting
up,
into the
yeah.
fender and chopping it up.
I'm the same way.
It
with
is
the
a
Corrado.
salvage title, so who cares?
It is true. I didn't find out it was a
Why
salvage
you
title.
Why you gotta hurt him like that?
Because I want him to do something.
It's
It's an E36. Like, you've already rubbed the shit out of the fenders by lowering it and putting stupid wheels on it.
I have pushed myself closer to
Calling his wheels
the wide
stupid?
body kit.
Damn.
Those front fenders are self-clearanced at
See,
this
but
point.
the front fenders are that doesn't
those
matter.
are
Those
easy,
are
yeah.
you can
It's
replace
the rear-
those.
it's the rear quarter that's
that are-
daunting,
That's
like-
the bad
You're
part.
not going to destroy the whole thing. You can the sheet metal works.
I'm playing devil's advocate for both of you. I do think Shane should commit and just. I mean, you're not going to sell the car, and if you
No,
do,
not,
like
yeah.
you, it's just going to be
Yeah.
in
Unless
a
I
ball.
move at Kevin's pace for this, I'm not gonna, I'm just kidding.
What's my pace?
extremely efficiently
Yeah.
and quickly.
I know.
Yeah.
If I gave you my car, it'd be done in a week.
I doubt that.
If you paid him, maybe
Yeah. What's your payment plan look like?
I don't know.
to be done in a week.
Lately, all I've been
Yeah.
doing is welding diffs for people, so
I don't need
That is a good
done.
gig.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
honestly,
been working pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah.
How many
What-
diffs
what
are
do
you
you-
welding?
What are you charging per diff?
What's your diff count at?
My total diff count,
Yeah. Like where you at?
5.
And what amount of time?
Huh?
What amount of time?
Like when did you start
Like,
charging?
I didn't
to
do
weld
5
diffs?
at once.
No,
No shit.
In what
Kevin.
period of time have you welded 5 diffs?
I don't know.
A few months?
No. I mean,
For money- for
that's
dollars.
My total. Oh, for dollars, I've
Yeah.
only done 2.
So 3 have been yours.
Yeah.
All right, that makes more sense.
So not a prolific business. Okay.
But honestly, like if you could
not bad.
tell people like, yeah, just bring me your diff out of the car. I'm
Yeah,
not
if
doing
you
it in
guys
the
need
car,
diffs welded,
and
hit up Kevin.
It worked.
Yeah.
$200 or whatever. Yeah, I mean that's
at
a
Fiznizzy.
good deal
Yeah, he'll weld your
Yeah,
diff
at
for-
Fiznizzy.
for everybody,
It's
really.
like
Weld
3
your
hours
diff.
of work, and you gotta drop the diff out and clean stuff.
Bring cash and beer,
Yeah.
and he'll do it.
And food.
As long as you're local. I mean, you can drive from far if you want, but
Yeah, he's not going anywhere though.
No.
Come to him.
I mean, how many shops are like, yeah, I'll weld your diff?
No shop will
how
weld
many
a
shops
diff.
are like, yeah, I'll weld your diff and then do it properly? Is the
You-
concern?
it's-
No,
that's
not-
actually
that's
pretty hard
not-
to mess
That's
up,
not even an
but
option. They
just won't do it. They won't
Yeah,
do it.
that's true.
Any reputable shop won't do it.
No, like you can't go to a Pet Boys and be like, hey, like, weld my diff.
Probably have a pretty decent chance at a Pep Boys versus like.
Really?
I think that might be more likely. I think with
Yeah.
Kevin on this one. But
Really?
yeah, any
Well, for anyone that's listening, we don't have Pet Boys around here, really. We just,
whatever. Yeah, we don't really have any equivalent, do
Pep
we?
Boys, Goodyear, any tire shop that does work, basically.
Conrad's, really.
Yeah.
They won't do it. I don't think.
Firestone.
This is
No,
liability
won't do it.
They
because
won't do it on paper, but the
No.
people who work there will.
It's the
do
same
it.
people that
Yeah.
won't work on your exhaust if you don't have a cat, but off
Mhm.
paper they'll do whatever you want.
right.
But yeah.
Anyway,
What else,
So yeah.
Shane?
Anyway, so
so what have your recent projects on the car been?
made a carbon fiber valve cover.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
A nice
I did
little.
see that. Actually, I did see that, and
Yeah.
it looked decent.
Wait, I'm gonna.
A nice little segue into what we're going to talk about
we were,
today.
yeah, we
Yeah.
were gonna actually talk about that. We figured since we had Shane and he's had some experience both designing, like the rest of us, carbon/composite parts, and actually making them himself, which neither of us have done.
I've
But-
done.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well, fuck me.
On the
then.
same time that he,
I'm with
we
you,
were-
Will. I haven't touched
I
it.
don't know.
Shane and I were both on Formula SE teams in college, so
Well,
we
so
did.
was I, but I didn't make them. I didn't make the carbon stuff.
Well,
Whoa,
I just like
hold
if
on,
machine
hold
shop
on.
if you
stuff.
get
I have a
if you
question.
get involved enough, then you get
Yeah.
your hands on everything
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
at some
Question.
point or other.
Formula what now?
SAE.
Okay, which is
It's like Formula
Formula
Carts
Society of Automotive Engineering.
okay.
Design
It's for-
team.
it's a
I wasn't going
collegiate-
for the acronym. I was just saying.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, no,
we,
I don't know. I just
We
didn't know what it
build
was.
and design open wheel race cars, quarter
Oh,
scale,
they don't have
third
to be.
scale race cars. They don't have to be. Yeah.
Like little
Underground.
single
There's
seater
certain
mini
rules.
go kart version of Formula
Oh.
cars.
Certain
Okay,
rules.
yeah,
There's like
cool.
100.
Yeah,
There was
okay.
like 100 pages of rules in
They're
that
little rippers.
freaking book.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm caught up.
Usually,
Like,
Continue.
4-cylinder turbo
sport bike
stuff.
motors.
They used to be
yeah.
4 cylinders. Now they've taken fuel economy into account a lot more. So almost everything now that's competitive is single cylinder or electric.
Everything
wow.
is electric, single cylinder, and aero. When we were there, it was like steel tube
Yeah,
chassis,
Turbo
four-cylinder.
CBR engines and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You guys turboed your engines. Did you
no,
ever try
we
it?
turboed one. We turboed a single cylinder at one point.
Did it blow
It was
up?
a WR450. No, it did not blow up. But what's interesting
Thank
is
you
that
very much.
what actually
Get it
happened
right.
that what did cause those problems is you have to run restrictor plates.
Yeah.
So depending on what
okay,
type of
yeah.
fuel, you had to run a certain size restrictor, and when you run a turbo, that makes a lot more vacuum pre-turbo, which makes oil get sucked through seals. Which,
Yep.
if you don't have a scavenging pump, or if your scavenging pump fails, it makes your car catch on fire.
Oof.
Yeah, I saw that
So
a
it
few
caught on
times.
fire.
Yeah.
It didn't blow up, but it was engulfed in
There was
flames.
fire.
Okay.
Fire. Full on fire.
There's been fires. Yeah.
okay. Well, that's pretty cool. I
So
didn't know
anyway,
that.
but like
That's awesome.
we got to a point, at least I don't know what's happening now, but we were doing full carbon chassis, carbon
Right.
wings, carbon ducts, carbon intakes,
Right.
carbon everything preting much.
Yeah.
Anything you make out of carbon, we do it.
Because
Yep.
you can pretty much make any shape
Yeah, I mean,
out of carbon.
Why couldn't you?
You know,
Right.
it all comes in down to, you know, kind of the layup, really, and
Yeah,
how
if-
which direction it's strong. Because it can't be strong in every direction, almost.
No,
Can't be
it
the
could
strongest in
almost
every
be, yeah.
direction, but it's pretty strong in every direction.
Yeah.
You can split it
depending
into
on your
multiple
shape.
pieces
Yeah.
or split the mold into multiple pieces
Yeah.
to achieve what you want in most cases.
Right, but you're always going to have, well, I guess I shouldn't say always, but, you know, seams, you have to take those into considerations and thickness variations and types of epoxy you're using and environments that it's being used in. So,
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about carbon is you can pretty much make any shape. I mean, really, if you come up with a shape, there's a way to mold it, more or less, which is like really nice for design work. 'cause
just
you can
depends on
just-
how expensive it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you do a full box and stuff, and they gotta bladder mold it in aluminum mold. Like they can make it, but it'll cost a bunch of dollars to do. But yeah, there's really no limit to like shapes and everything. You can find a way to do it. It's just whether you want to pay for it or not. And
So I guess before we get into all that, we know that pretty much anything's possible, but in a general sense, typically what we do at ECS when dealing with carbon is body styling components and then interior trim overlays,
Engine bay covers.
engine covers.
intake tubes,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, doing the intake tubes. Those are
Ooh,
pretty
some
nifty.
structural strut
Strut
braces.
braces?
We've done.
Yeah.
Did one
Yeah.
of those.
Uh,
I mean, we
I have a strut
we
brace
have a
also.
pretty good range of carbon products, honestly.
Yeah, but in like the grand scheme of things, we're like really not utilizing carbon for what it's like.
I mean, we're not building
for like what it's
full
really
body
capable
panel,
of. You know what I mean?
you
Aside
know.
from maybe the strut braces, that's probably getting into the
Yeah.
realm of. But you know, then you start involving like billet mating components and things like that, which
Yeah.
I know you've had. Both of you have had a design specifically using that, but
Yeah.
just to give you a background on what we've used it for in terms of design work.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, considerations when designing some of these parts. I'll let you kind of talk.
Yeah, I'm here for the ride. I want to hear about this stuff. So.
Something that's, you know, there's multiple ways you can lay up carbon fiber. It can be typically what people think of carbon fiber. They think of the 2x2 twill weave. It's like, you know, your little tiny squares,
Mhm.
whatever. You get the nice pattern. Okay, that's good in multiple directions. But there's also things that are like unidirectional carbon fiber, which basically kind of looks like a black sheet with strands on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can lay that up in certain directions, right? So carbon's going to be strong along its axis of where the fibers are going. So if you have something that needs to be strong in torsion, like a drive shaft or an axle or something, then you want to have a lot of unidirectional carbon fiber in around like the torsional direction that the force is being applied to it. So you can change how strong something is by changing how each layer of carbon is laid and how many layers there are, which is something you can't really do with like steel or aluminum or whatever.
Yeah, you're fixed to whatever those properties
So I
are.
want to play devil's advocate and just like ask. So like in that scenario where you're, you know, dealing with the high concentration, like or a high force concentration on the part you're designing, why wouldn't it make sense to just keep laying up different layers and just adding up at like, you know, 10-degree increments or whatever and just making that?
Yeah, it can,
That
but then you have 85 layers by
Right,
the time you're
right.
done with it, right?
You're defeating, I
Versus
feel like you're defeating the purpose of the
Right.
weight reduction, right?
all right, that's
But you don't need to. You don't need 80 layers. I mean, because if you think
Well,
about it, by the
I'm
time you get to 90
exaggerating.
degrees, right? I mean, you only need.
Well, okay, you don't want necessarily one layer in one direction, right? You want multiple layers in that direction. So
Mhm.
it's like one sheet isn't strong.
No.
There, you need
it's pretty
No,
strong.
it's not. I mean, so like the valve cover I made was 3 layers,
Mhm.
Okay.
and you could flex the shit out of that thing because it's just 2x2 twill weave. There's no like really directional, you know, it's not strong in one direction. It's floppy because 2x2 is very formable. You can make it fit nice things. That's why we use
I
it.
don't
for
know
all
if we
of
touched
our-
on this, but 2x2 is like the weave pattern looking carbon
The-
fiber
the-
that most people are
yeah.
pretty familiar
Basically
with. That's
any
your
nice
conventional
carbon part
looking carbon.
on a car is
Yeah.
2x2 twill weave, but
Yeah,
it's
I can do
very
that.
formable and good for cosmetic parts. But to
And it
Kevin's
looks nice.
point,
Well,
Like,
depending, it looks nice.
if you need to make something strong, there's a balance between strength and weight.
Right.
Like, so you want to optimize the direction of those layers so that you can keep the weight down, but give it as much strength. So
Mhm.
yeah, you could do 80 layers and stagger.
I mean, the
each
majority of the
ply.
weight's coming from the resin, the
The
epoxy, that
epoxy,
you're
yeah. And then
using.
the cloth
not
is
so much.
like
Yeah, I mean,
5
it's not
ounces a square foot.
super light,
you know,
but
so it
It
builds up,
depends
though.
how you lay it up because, if you're vacuum bagging and autoclaving and all that, you're
Mhm.
you're taking out a lot versus just like putting epoxy on it and letting it drip off and cure whatever.
Right.
Wet,
Well-
wet layup and
Yeah, so I
dry
guess there
layup.
should be the
Boy,
other
that's a
thing
good
is the different
subcategory.
types of
Right. Pre-preg versus
pre-preg versus dry cloth and epoxy, which
pros and cons to
any
each.
day of the week pre-preg.
Also,
Like on
Just for
if you want it
workability.
to
even.
look nice, it's gonna be way heavier than if you just want it to perform.
Yeah, for sure.
what pre-preg's heavier?
Anything.
if you want
aesthetics
carbon fiber
versus
to look
function.
nice,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a
Versus
lot of
form.
epoxy,
Yeah,
function
clear
versus
coat,
form.
all that
Yeah,
stuff
it's
on
gonna
it.
be
So it's
heavy,
gonna
yeah.
be significantly heavier than like performance. Like if you go look at rally cars, it's gonna be dry carbon. It's not gonna be finished.
Well, that and ultimately your what's essentially your base layer in the layup is going to be pretty much a throwaway because you're getting that for your visual. Like you want that to be oriented in such a way, have not as many seams or hiding the seams, and more often than not, you find that not benefiting you in any sort of structural way. So then every layer after that is where you start building strength. In some
it
cases,
gives
not
you a
for
little bit.
everything.
Like the strip
but-
races I did, the outside's the tool weave for
Right.
cosmetic, but then the inside's like a bunch of bulkier weaves, like
Mhm.
not unidirectional, but there's like other weaves that are 0-90 degree, like that are
So before
twice as
we
thick.
go into like pros and cons of like the pre-preg versus like just laying up with resin, I've always kind of wondered and not actually known the answer to like forged carbon.
Is that the same as like pressed carbon?
Yeah.
Doesn't
So,
seem
like-
like
I
it would
think
be
so.
strong in any. I don't really know anything
That's what
about
I don't
that
know.
either,
What
but
is that?
I don't know what
used
it is
for?
either. I've
Cosmetics.
heard the
I know-
term forged. It looks like chop mat, like
Yeah.
chop
No,
mat.
no,
fiberglass.
okay. So my buddy bought forged or pressed carbon mirror caps for his girlfriend's BMW.
It's like a real blocky
and it
looking
looks
geometric
like-
shape
so-
pattern.
Well, right, but it looks like press board, like
Yeah.
plywood you would
Plywood,
buy.
yeah.
It's like
Just in
random
car-
fibers
just in car-
forged into a shape, essentially. Is
Yeah.
what they're
But-
just
I don't
pressed
know why
into
they
the-
call it forged because it's probably
'Cause
the
it's
same
pressed
process.
into that shape, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
it's got to be pressed.
So there's
Shredded a
no.
bunch-
So there
bunch
would
of-
be, in your opinion or your knowledge that you have, there would be no structural improvement.
No,
over
because
like
there's
something
no
else
Not at
compared-
all.
because it's not
uniform
weaved, it's just
anything,
pressed.
yeah.
Right.
Right. The
Okay.
whole point is that the weave direction,
Right.
like the carbon physical strands that are in the fibers of carbon,
It's like
Right.
Chinese
are in a
finger
direction.
traps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that-
I know. I just I was just thinking from like, because there's plenty of aesthetic options for carbon, right? There's more than one. There's also carbon Kevlar, which is
that has
that-
its own
right.
properties that are desirable.
Right. So, I don't know. I guess I was just getting on the different types of carbon fiber.
That's honestly, it was
Yeah.
a serious question, like the forged
Yeah, no.
carbon. I've seen it before, and I'm like, okay,
Sometimes you
I,
don't-
I think it looks
it's
good.
an interesting look,
to
but
a point.
Sometimes you
is
don't
it good
need
for
strength.
anything other
No,
than
you
looks?
don't.
Yeah.
Well,
Like a mirror
It's
cap.
a
Yeah, mirror
lightweight,
cap, you won't need it.
lighter weight.
Yeah, mirror caps,
Actually,
spoilers,
like-
you don't.
But at that
need
point,
it.
I mean, it's not any better than fiberglass, other than maybe
Right.
looking better ish.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yes, I don't
Yeah,
really
depending
think
on
it
your
looks good.
taste, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. So, but anyway, so
I mean, it's
now
like
that we've
someone had stray fibers laying around, they're like, "Oh, just throw them
Yeah,
in there
I don't
and
know.
call it forged."
Hey.
I'm like, okay, whatever.
you can call it carbon fiber, I guess, and that
It is
gets you
carbon
some
fiber.
scene points.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, I just wanted to get that out of the way before we started talking about the benefits of the pre-preg versus layup epoxy resin.
Yeah, so I think pre-preg has the best advantage because really the other part that goes into
So,
it is your
I don't want to interrupt. Pre-preg.
so
Pre-impregnated.
with pre-preg
Okay.
fabric, the resin is already infused in the fabric.
Okay.
So,
So
usually,
basically-
typically,
As a consumer, you receive it
For
with-
someone who doesn't, for someone who knows what carbon fiber looks like and what it's used for, I don't know a dang thing about how it's manufactured
Not
or
a heck of a
why.
thing.
So really,
Not a
the
heck
end
of a
result,
thing.
like the end users, it's going to look the same.
Mhm.
The difference is for the manufacturer.
Right.
So pre-preg will come in rolls, and then it's already in there. So you unroll it, let it thaw out. It's much easier.
You have to keep frozen.
You have to keep frozen,
Oh,
or
okay.
the resin will cure eventually.
Okay, weird.
Um,
The more you know.
but then for manufacturing, it's so much easier because you can just take scissors, you can cut out the plies, it's a little tacky, you can stick it to your mold, like you can put it where you want, and for the most part it'll stay.
You essentially like tuck it as you want it, and then you put the vacuum bag on it, versus dry carbon, which is basically fabric.
It's fabric, yeah.
It's like super loose, it doesn't stick to anything, so like layers don't really stay where you want them. You can't
Other
push it
than
into a
being slightly
corner.
more difficult, the process is pretty much the same as fiberglass, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
you
was
mix up
Being more of a pain in the
That
ass.
was my initial thought. Also, was
It's like
that-
fiberglass.
For lay up with resin, not pre-preg.
Yeah,
Right,
It's
yeah.
like fiberglass, but you have to put the glass down yourself, and it doesn't want to stay anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. So
And you have to
Huh.
trim edges and stuff because it's still
I
kind of
don't-
it's fabric.
when
So you know.
So when I hear fiberglass, I'm just like, no thanks. Like I won't touch it. I just.
Yeah, but it's like
Nothing-
it's
nothing wrong with
fantastic.
fiberglass.
So
I've also only
I don't-
done it like maybe a handful of times. Like, so I guess I never really got super into it. Would I like to do it?
there's
Sure.
definitely a time and a place where it's
Yeah.
like really saves your ass. Because I think I mentioned this a couple episodes ago about the ATC,
Right.
and Shane, hooked it up on that one because that seat. I'm still trying to find a picture of the before when
Yeah.
I got the seat. The seat pan is a steel seat pan, and it had almost completely rusted away.
Oof.
Like there was just barely the shape of it left.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, yeah, I could like just make a new one out of sheet. There was no salvaging it. It was so
Okay.
rusty,
Yeah.
so gone. Yeah, I could make a new one out of sheet metal, but it was a stamped piece, so there was a lot of features to it. It had studs welded to it, and it just sounded awful. And then I had a thought. I was like, well, actually, if you just cover this in fiberglass, and because the shape is still there,
Right.
it's just holes and not very strong. That would work for a seat pan. So
Yeah.
I talked to Shane about it, and Shane's like, yeah, let me take a look at it. And before I know, it's like he was returning it to me. He was like, yeah, I just laid it up in fiberglass, whatever, and
Yeah.
it's fantastic. It was perfect.
Now, Shane, is that something you do regularly on your own time, just for shits and gigs, or just for?
Like getting glass in his fingers.
Yeah, I like being itchy for weeks after. I do like to do it in my spare time. I haven't done it in
I was go. My brain went.
okay. I do like to do it. I haven't done it in a while, which is why when Will brought this seat and he's like, hey, is this salvageable? I'm like, yeah, let me try it, because I haven't messed with it in a while. So I just started laying up fiberglass in stages, because the nice thing is you can, it's very formable.
Right.
As long as you have like some type of mold to, hold
Like
it,
a
its
some
shape.
base to work off of.
Mm-hmm.
So I encapsulated it, like basically started dabbing it on there, and then just used Chop Mat because it was,
Yeah.
and then dabbed the resin on, let it dry, and then took some brass sheet metal and then kind of did the outside shape of the seat, and then built the material against that, let that dry. So it took like a couple stages, but then sand
Yeah.
it down, and then
There you
because
go.
of all the fibers, it's like super strong, and now it's not going to rust away.
Yeah.
And, well, it shouldn't.
Yeah,
I
we're-
hope not. If it rusts away, you'll just have a hollow shell.
yeah,
inside of
yeah,
it.
exactly. The thing's awesome though. It worked out really well. But yeah, so there's like a time and a
Yeah.
place. Like,
Yeah, no,
because
I mean,
like I said, the other option was, nobody makes them anymore. You can't buy one. I could buy a less rusty version of it on eBay, but it was like $200 somebody
Oof.
wanted for a seat pan.
Gross.
I could make one, which is just a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
Could if you had a
Or you
good
could have
sheet
Shane
metal
do
guy,
it.
you could do it. But then
Yeah.
it was so thin and rusty, like you can just
There
kinda
wasn't
blow through it,
Yeah.
it was borderline enough to work with. You know what I mean? So
So yeah, fiberglass
that's
it
a
and
perfect solution, in my
salvage the
opinion.
shape.
There's nothing wrong with fiberglass is what we're getting at.
Yeah,
No, I know. I never thought there was. It's just something that I
usually
won't.
it just sucks to work with.
Yeah, I
that's
don't.
all.
I prefer to not be itchy.
Okay.
But
Well, anyway,
maybe
back
it's
to
something
carbon
I can-
fiber.
Sorry.
We're talking about composites.
Yeah,
that
it's-
qualifies.
Yeah.
Fiberglass.
It's not.
It's just not as cool or fun.
It's not
or
as strong.
doesn't
I mean,
get as many
yeah,
scene points.
But, yeah.
A lot of cases, fiberglass comes into play with carbon fiber, right?
Yeah, that's
like
true.
with what we make, it doesn't matter how strong it is, like a spoiler. So it's going to be way more cost effective to have a fiberglass base and then carbon fiber on top.
In
Yeah,
fact,
of
a lot of
course.
the lower cost molds are fiberglass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you pay more, you get a nice aluminum mold to something that's going to, production worthy. It's going to last a lot longer. But yeah, in general, like for smaller stuff, fiberglass molds are going to do the job. So
Yeah, and I'd say for like the advantage for like do it yourself, like
Mhm.
doing the dry carbon
Yep.
is something that anyone can do, because you can buy the materials, you can mix up the resin whenever you're ready. Like where pre-preg is much better, who has a giant freezer laying
You
around?
need a freezer
then
chest
deep
out in the
freezer,
garage
yeah.
or something like that.
Pre-pregs also require a temperature cure, like
Mhm.
an elevated temperature cure. So
Yeah.
like not everyone has a massive oven. So, you know, getting the dry material,
Pros
like
and cons. That's why
Yeah.
we're here.
some room temp epoxy,
Like you said, time and place.
make a mold. I did it in my garage. So like
Yeah.
you can make anything.
So for your engine cover that you did you use pre-preg or no?
I used
Which, by the way,
dry
we'll
carbon.
take a photo of it and we'll put it
Yeah,
on
yeah, we'll have to post it up. I always have to remember because I'm like, well, no, I shouldn't post it right now. I'll post
Yeah,
it
it'll
when
be-
it comes out, so I have to
yeah.
put reminders in. But
Which,
yeah,
Which we still owe the viewers a video.
I
we
know.
do. We just, like I said. So if you were listening to the last week's episode and you heard us talking about Mike
2 weeks
making
ago?
out with a
Last
tree,
week's? I don't know.
and you want to see the video, send us messages so he feels bad for not letting us post it.
He said
Once-
after he gets
yeah,
back.
once he's home
Yeah.
from visiting his parents, he just didn't want them to be disappointed in his life choices.
Yeah. He wants him to be disappointed after when he's
Right.
home and they
Yeah,
can't talk to
and
him.
then he can't. He can't. That's all right. He's alive. Nothing happened. It's good.
Yeah, he's
fine.
He's good.
Yeah. But back to carbon fiber.
But anyways, yeah, point was we'll post a picture of both Shane's engine cover and maybe this seat pan that we made.
Yep. Both.
But yeah.
Carry on.
So I mean, with the like, say for the valve cover, so with any part, it starts with the mold. So you got to make a mold somehow, and you can either, in this case, I actually took the engine cover and then coated it in monocoat, covered it like the old RC airplane covering, not old, but
Mhm.
and then just basically heat shrinked it over it to cover it so the epoxy wouldn't stick to it, and then screwed that to a piece of plywood that I also prepped, and then a lot of foam and a lot of sanding to make a plug, get the shape you want, and then once the plug is done, then I use fiberglass for that. You cover it with fiberglass because you're making the mold. You need the female cavity to make the part. So
And you need whatever side you want to look nice and be formed nicely to be the face of the mold, essentially, because the inside is going to be vacuum bag, right?
yeah, so like if you couldn't just make it on the part itself because then the inside surface would be pretty, but the
Right.
outside would look
So,
like
yeah,
garbage.
so you have to be able to pull the thing out of the mold, right?
Right, yeah.
So whatever surface you want to be the outside, for this instance, the
Right.
top side has to be the surface of the mold, so that when you vacuum bag it, which basically you put the whole thing inside a bag and put vacuum on it,
Well, yeah.
and that sucks all the air out and sucks the carbon into the mold, so
Okay.
that the outside surface or whatever surface is against the mold is going to get a nice flat finish, and the inside's going to be kind of crinkly
So-
because the bag,
Yeah.
sucks up all the air came out, so it's going to have a bunch of little lines.
Yeah.
all
Okay.
that.
So similar to, I guess, back to our episode on like vacuum forming and stuff. Similar process, kinda.
Different, but kinda.
Okay.
There's a mold involved.
Yeah, yeah. There's mold.
kind of
It
similar.
shares one of the words. Yeah.
Well,
in the
right,
fact
with
that
what-
the surface
No, you
matters
just need
in
to
what you're
squeeze it.
molding
You
off
need
of.
to
Yeah, you
squeeze all the
squeeze it
excess
to-
epoxy
yeah.
out of there. You need
Yeah.
to,
No,
make
it
sure
makes
it's
sense.
holding its form, no gaps in between layers and
Yeah.
seams and things
Yeah.
like that. But that did actually get me thinking because I completely forgot that I did this many years ago when the Miata was still a little 1.6 liter. I made an intake for it, and I used. So honestly, I don't know how exactly this material worked, but it was like a pre-preg fiberglass that you activated with water,
Oh wow.
and it came in. It looked like header wrap, it just came in a
yeah,
roll,
okay, yeah.
right? And I made the intake and I made it using, I guess what you can consider a male mold, because it needed to like snake between the bumper and the core support and all that stuff. And I made it out of the green floral foam. It's
Okay,
like
yeah.
a pretty high
Yeah,
density
stuff's
foam, and
money.
the stuff's really formable. You can sand it, you
Carve
can
it and
use it,
stuff, and-
carve it with
yeah.
like a bread knife or whatever. And then when you're making like really complex shapes where it's not even realistic to make a female mold because it would need to be multi-piece and everything, you can just dissolve it out of your part using gasoline or acetone or whatever. It
Whatever,
dissolves
yeah.
in a lot of things. So
Huh.
pretty nifty if you want to
It's
go
kinda
the other
cool
route.
thing, yeah.
Outside doesn't look fantastic, but gets the job done. So
Yeah, I
can
mean,
sand
you're
it,
on a
you can clean
budget.
it up.
and-
yeah.
If you're talking about function, and
Yeah,
like
yeah, if
you
the
don't
care
inside
about
of an
that, whatever.
intake, yeah, you want the inside.
Well,
walls
the
to be
inside,
smooth,
yeah,
right?
it's going to function better.
So-
It's just going to look like trash.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
it's just an
That's
option.
pretty cool. Yeah.
So I bought that. But wait, I mean, this was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that. But I bought it off of McMaster, and they just sold this roller thing, and just like, yeah, you just, spray
Add
it down,
water.
add water, essentially. Yeah, it's like a hard fiberglass thing. Kind of
It's
cool.
kind of cool, yeah.
Yeah.
You can mold into whatever shape you want.
Also in a pinch, the pink insulating foam from Home Depot.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what it usually my go-to is. 'Cause you can double
Not
side tape all the layers.
fiberglass, the
making the
foamy
shape, yeah.
backer for
It's
drywall or something
It's
like
like
that.
1.5 inches thick.
Yeah, it's the stuff you would use like in a barn.
insulation.
Like this. It's like foam
Yeah,
insulation.
I just
that's all it is.
didn't want them to get confused with the.
With the pink
Scratches
fiberglass.
down.
This is very
It's hard
yeah.
foam.
Yeah,
Hard
yeah.
foam, yeah.
But it's not that hard. We used a lot of high density foam because we wanted to have
That's nice
Be
for
able to
prototyping
make
too.
more parts and
Yeah.
machine it.
Yeah.
So you can machine it to whatever shape. But then also you have to finish it. You have to basically paint it with a mold release so that whatever you're making doesn't stick to the part. Otherwise,
Right.
you're pretty screwed.
Yeah, you just can't get anything off.
You get
and
chunks
just
of your
get-
mold off with it if you're
Oof.
prying the part off and you ruin the
Or
mold.
like Shane, it chunks off your
and
Bondo.
that takes a lot of
that's a product of the foam.
that takes a lot of post processing. You don't just like make a mold. You have to spray
you
it.
pop out
Yeah.
this pretty
You have to
carbon
sand it,
fiberglass
polish
part.
it. Like you basically have to have a polish finish on
Yeah.
it for it to come out nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably had 36 hours or more of labor, I would say.
Into what, your
Into
engine
what,
Just
cover?
the
engine
entire
cover?
process, yeah.
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 Because like Kevin said, make the mold, but then you gotta, if you're shaping it, you're sanding it, you're finishing it, because the plug has to be just as pretty as you want the part to be.
Sure.
So, run us through your mold here. Like, just
Yeah, start to finish. I don't think we went start to finish on the process you used to make your engine cover.
Yeah, you didn't just take your engine cover off and go, I'm gonna lay this
This
on
out
like,
of
it just
carbon
doesn't work like
fiber,
you have
yeah.
to literally carve that exact same shape.
Well, he said he made the female side of the
Okay.
engine cover out of
Oh, okay.
fiberglass, right?
Okay, yeah.
So then from there,
Yeah.
I mean, I did actually use the part.
Okay.
Because if you have the shape, roughly, if you have a shape already, that's the easiest way
Yeah,
to go
Dave
with
was
it.
just
Okay.
saying
Yeah,
he didn't go
okay.
straight to laying up on top
Yeah.
of your
Yeah,
existing
I
engine
wrapped
cover.
I wrapped the valve cover in monocoat,
Okay.
which is great for like this stuff because nothing sticks to it,
Right.
and you can heat shrink it and it'll stretch. And then once I shielded it, then I mounted it to a board, and then I bondoed and pink foamed and basically built up the shape I needed. And then once that was good and pretty, then yeah, I had to spray it with the release agent very thoroughly to get it off, and then take dry fiberglass and resin, and then cover it up, build up the part, and then once that was cured, pop that off, and then once you had the female mold, then I had to bondo and finish that mold because it didn't turn out perfect. And then primer that, polish that up, and then spray the release agent, and then put my carbon fiber in it, vacuum bag it, and then spend an hour trying to break it out of the mold.
All right, so let's dial this back a little bit. You breezed over, I think, some of like the more interesting parts. So, obviously making the molds, I mean, that's very application specific.
I'm just wondering where he's
he
going.
went to go move his car because Elise has to get out, and he just didn't put his shoes back on. So he's walking across the yard right now in socks.
I was trying to not acknowledge
I know,
that,
but
yeah.
it's too good.
I think
we
that's why I
have to-
breezed through. I was like, where's he
right.
going?
Change this like trying to keep talking while like we're just
Everyone's,
walking.
Kevin's yet like poking around like
Sorry.
he's
Big
yelling
dumb idiot. We can say whatever we want about him right now, and he'll never know
It's all right.
because we know Matt won't edit.
All right,
the
keep
video.
going.
Listen, yeah.
But
All right.
yeah. So, anyways, yeah.
What do you
the
want me to
mold
go
is
back and cover?
so the mold is going to depend incredibly on what you're making. So
Yeah.
that you can't really give a whole lot of advice there. But once you have your mold, and we're assuming this is a female mold,
This is a
because
female mold.
on a
It's
part you're trying to make look pretty.
Yep, valve cover.
which
It's like a
is-
male
I mean,
part.
if I'm going to spend time making anything out of carbon fiber,
pretty from
I
the
also-
outside.
Yeah, exactly. So, you just kind of breezed through and you said, yeah, I just laid up my carbon fiber, vacuum bagged it, and then it was done.
Yeah.
So,
no,
let's
that was
break
not.
that
So
down
once
a little
the
bit
female
more.
mold's done, and again, the surface finish of your carbon part will only turn out as well as the surface
Right,
finish
because
of
there's
your
no
mold is.
there's nothing you can do in between that and your first layer of carbon, right? You can't.
There's a couple. There's like a thing you can do, but if your mold is all dull and got sanding marks in it, like those are
That's
gonna
gonna-
all transfer
yeah.
to your part. So you want it smooth
And
and
at
shiny
that point,
in the
your
mirror.
only hope is after your part's all done, throwing clear coat on it and hoping that fills in.
and hoping, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a
So-
big gamble to make after you're that far invested in this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm already like way too much time
It's
into
like-
this.
how many hours into your mold?
Probably 12 or something.
It's like polishing aluminum. If you don't spend the time up front with the heavy grits, you're just gonna
I
struggle.
can't tell you
later
how many
on.
aluminum things that I've attempted to polish and just gave up halfway through.
There's a couple of times I wanted to give up on this because I'm like, this is.
It is
But
nice
then I'm
because
like,
at
I
that
gotta
point
follow
you can
through
just
with
you can
it.
put it aside for a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
you can come back and
come back to
work
it.
on it here and there. But yeah, once the mold's done, you're like, I'm freaking building this part
It's the
today.
easy
Yeah, and you're
part.
close. I mean, you're at that point. You're
and so like, yeah, it's like you gotta set aside like 5 hours of your day if you want to like do this.
It's one of those things you can't rush it. When you catch yourself like getting tired of it, annoyed, and just wanting to be done with, just like put it to the side and pick it back up when you're feeling motivated again, and like take your time and do it right.
Yeah, this is not. You need patience. So the first step
don't have that.
is to.
Oh, what is that? What is this? Where did this come from?
He bought a lot.
ADHD has kicked in.
Sorry,
Session IPA
I saw beer.
beer.
Fair?
So yeah, step one. Once you get the female mold, my mold ready to go, you got to put a release agent on. My go-to for room temperature stuff is PVA, polyvinyl acetate. I think. I don't know if you guys use that.
I've heard of it, not used it.
We just call it mold release. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's comes in you can buy a gallon of it. It's like $25. You can spray it out of a paint gun, and it's water soluble. So you just kind of spray on, put like 10 to 15 layers on, and then
10 to 15 layers.
I don't want the thing to stick, man. Like
Okay.
Better safe than
go
sorry.
hard.
That's a lot of
Actually, no.
layers.
Before I do that, I wax the entire mold.
Okay.
So wax to make it really shiny and slippery. Then I put the release agent on.
I'm not gonna lie. The more you talk about this, the more I'm less interested in it. I'm just like, this sounds like a lot.
It's not easy.
Okay,
It's not
so
easy,
it's
yeah.
interesting. You're just less likely to try it on your own.
I'm turning you off to
I think
it
I'd
because
really have to be like, I want to make this.
And I mean, in all
into-
honesty, like, not that I'm trying to like pitch people to buy ECS products or anything, but like, this stuff is no joke. And the fact that like every once in a while, I'm sorry, this stuff is like hand laid. There's no like automated process to doing this. You know, there's going to be defects every once in a while. There's going to be blemishes. You know, as a company, we're going to do what we can to make it right. Just put that in there as a disclaimer. But like, I mean, this is legit is a very long, tedious process.
carbon fiber is not an automated process.
Right.
Yet. It's going to be a long time before you can do it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so put the release agent on, and then once that dries, and then to help with building a thick layer of resin for like buffing and everything else, I will mix up a faster curing epoxy, and I will brush that in the mold
Let's get
first.
a little bit harder.
Yeah, there's like room temperature, there's different cure times, so I used a 20-minute. Usually standard is like 60-minute to 2 hour. So I did a 20-minute, and then mix that up, and then brush that in the mold, a little skim coat. The problem is like you constantly have to chase it and go back and brush it because it just runs. It's just like water. So it just keeps running, and you have to keep making sure it's pretty consistently like staying where it is. And as it hardens, it'll do it, but it takes like an hour
Yeah.
to tack. So I'm like just chasing it around with a paintbrush for an hour, like in my garage, just like
just waiting for it to maybe
like,
partially
just-
Remember
dry.
that word tedious that I used? Like,
yeah.
This is what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
we're getting into it. I'm like,
Well,
this is super interesting.
You don't
but
always have to.
I don't want to do
way
this
either.
anymore,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I
Like I
was-
said, you can do
this
the
isn't-
cut, like the
Shane, do you wanna
quick
make
and
me a
dirty
carbon
version with
fiber
the
cover?
green floral foam and
If you want to wait
fiberglass.
a month.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, you don't have to do this step, but I wanted a thick resin coat to sand down. So
And still
unfortunately,
taking the time,
I
taking the time
appreciate-
now
yeah,
is
I-
better than having to do it all over again.
Yeah, listening to Shane
So.
just talk about the process, leaving a little bit, and how tedious it is, and the fact that you take the extra steps to actually do it properly is like,
Oh, he's just
pretty good,
smart
yeah.
enough to know.
yeah,
that,
I
like,
mean,
yeah,
But-
it does suck though, because you're just sitting there just like,
I
you
don't
know,
want to do this
the
anymore. I
thinner-
don't want to do this
yeah,
anymore. I
yeah.
don't want to do this anymore.
I feel like this is on the same level of like body work for me. Like, I hate doing body work.
I can't do it. I've
I-
tried
I-
a couple times. Every time it's turned out horribly because I lose patience probably not even halfway through
5
the
minutes
job.
in,
I'm
you're
like, nah, I'm over this.
Let's not go down that road.
I know. That's a whole different ball
yeah.
game. It's sort of the same ball game, but a different ball game.
Yeah, but
Sorry, Shane. We keep
Yeah,
getting
sorry.
all
this is
hot and
riveting.
bothered.
It's riveting,
Yeah.
yeah. Just basically watch
to the
paint
end.
dry.
I
That's what I
did.
did. I
To be
skimmed-
fair,
I
I
skimmed it.
did
You
ask
brought me
him
back
to,
to this.
to dial it back.
Because I
no,
did
no,
skim
no.
one.
I think this is good. Like, this is, our viewers are probably like, oh, okay. Like, there's just not just, you can't just make something and you just like lay it on top and be done with it.
You
There's,
can.
like,
It's
a
just
lo-
not going to look good.
No, and it might not work either. So
I mean, you can though. You can take. You can.
Kevin sits
seriously.
back. Actually,
You can take like a piece of trim and you can like lay it on something, and then drape carbon dry sheet
Oh,
over
yeah.
it,
Good
and
point.
just layer epoxy on.
if
all
you don't
day.
want to get your mold, if
Yeah.
you don't want to get your part back out of it, that does accelerate things.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're just gonna do it over an existing part, then yeah, sure. But that's kind of a cop out. It sounds to me. Well, but I
If
also
that's
guess
what you want to
but I guess
achieve
it
with
depends on
it,
what you're
I
going
guess
for,
it,
yeah.
it depends on what you're doing with it.
if you're going for like some trim for your interior, who
Yeah.
cares?
yeah, I mean,
You're
if
not after weight savings for
So
your
Shane,
trim.
riddle me this
No.
again, a devil's advocate question. What would happen if you just like decided, I just want to put a single layer of carbon fiber on top of my engine cover and clear coat it?
It would look like garbage.
good to know,
You heard it here first, folks.
right?
I don't know if I had to elaborate more than that.
There's too many like tight corner
Yeah,
features
yeah.
in that. Like something simple like a flat piece of trim is easy, and you can trim off the excess after the
Well, I feel like-
cures. But
Carbon fiber it doesn't just lay the way you want it to lay. Like,
carbon
it
fiber
takes-
don't lay.
Carbon fiber don't lay.
No,
I heard that. I
exactly.
could not hear
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry.
No, plus if
Like,
you just
there's-
laid it over your cover, it would
Well,
just.
okay, that's the difference between pre-preg
Right, yeah,
and
yeah,
dry
okay.
carbon. Pre-preg,
Think
you're
about
able
even-
to like it's tacky. It already has like
Yeah.
a stick to it,
It's
so you can tuck it
malleable.
into corners.
Yeah, okay.
It's like almost kind of like vinyl wrapping, because that
Yeah,
sounds
okay,
pretty
yeah.
bad too.
Yeah,
You know,
makes sense.
being
But
able
you,
to.
you still run into the same problems though. Like when you have a corner and you have to like go around it.
Well, the vinyl, right? Vinyl only wants to go one way usually.
yeah, well,
so,
vinyl
like,
you can stretch. Carbon
Yeah,
you can't.
the
So it
requires
comes down
heat,
to
but
like
yeah,
sanding afterwards. At
yeah,
that point.
to make it smooth and then
Right.
finishing.
That's why you get those little like black lines
Yeah.
in carbon, or you have a seam.
Yeah.
Even if it's clear coated and post finished, it's there.
Harder
There's
to
still
tell, but-
seams for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. What else, Shane?
Yeah, Shane.
I don't know how much more detail do you want.
I don't know.
Did you
No, I
guys-
think that's pretty
out of
good,
my
but-
Yeah.
curiosity, we went into quite a bit of detail on simulation of our like chassis and stuff, and like
Uh-huh.
making sure that our wings had enough layers, and basically we were on the formula team, we were
Figuring out where you can
optimizing.
Cut that weight.
No, right. Really, we actually there's a program almost 10 years ago now
Ansys.
that we were using,
Ansys?
FEMAP,
Oh,
It's
FEMAP,
Ooh.
no.
Never used that one.
specifically for carbon fiber. So you can tell it what your layers
Didn't do
are,
that.
what direction they're laid in, and
Oh,
it will
wow.
give you an output of, you basically your stress.
That's pretty
Yeah,
ridiculous.
that sounds cool. Huh.
It was a little bit more like simplistic. It didn't necessarily use 3D models; it used points.
Well,
Instead,
I mean,
so-
any simulation software is really only good as the data you feed it, and you have
Right.
to assume a lot of stuff.
So we also so the carbon fiber tub for the car wasn't just carbon fiber. It had a aluminum hex extrusion as a filler essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So to give it rigidity, you'd have a layer of carbon, a sheet of honeycomb aluminum, which basically is flexible in this direction. Like if you tried to bend it, it would bend. But if you tried to press on it flat, it'd be super stiff. You could walk on it.
Yeah.
And then, so basically, it's like a sandwich. So you have
Sandwich.
bonded pieces, and there's specific glue that goes on that honeycomb that bonds it to the carbon fiber. So you have layer carbon, honeycomb, layer carbon, and that's what the chassis essentially is
This
made
is
of.
essentially, if your
okay.
brain didn't comprehend, this is like corrugated cardboard. You know,
Yeah.
the outside
Yeah, yeah,
layer
yeah.
is flat sheet.
Yep.
The inside, the corrugated usually runs the other
Yeah.
way, but they
So what would
it's
your
a
reason be for
hexagonal-
using-
It's
Aluminum,
more
'cause
it's more
obviously
rigid based on whatever direction.
whatever
it's
direction
being-
that geometric
Yeah.
shape is facing. Yeah. So they actually have something very similar that a lot of kind of DIY people use in racing for splitters.
Yeah.
That Alumilite is similar in a way.
Yeah,
That
well,
bond-
yeah.
It's the opposite. The outside layers are aluminum. The inside layers is a plastic extruded.
And that's another option
yeah.
you can use. Aluminum is stronger than there are composite versions of it
This
out
is
there.
Nomex honeycomb, which
Yeah,
is what we
right.
used.
We
instead of
tested that
aluminum.
and decided against it for some reason. I don't remember what it is. Anyway, with a chassis like that, you have to have essentially hard points, which are like concentrated carbon areas where you're bonding an upright to it or an A-arm to it or whatever. So you have to have, you can't just bolt through honeycomb sandwich. It's super
Right.
weak. If you tighten down a nut and a bolt on both sides of that, it's gonna collapse.
Mhm.
But If you have a hard point, bond it in. So we're essentially gouging out the aluminum honeycomb, placing in this solid carbon piece in that area for
Think of like a tire patch, but just carbon.
basically, yeah, that just fills the void on the inside. And that's how we'd make, major areas of the chassis that connect to important things like that. So that's how you attach like a billet aluminum piece to a carbon fiber tub.
Yeah, because it gives you the ability to actually have a secure mounting point, right?
Right,
Something
that's
that
the
actually
idea.
has some
Which is funny because this carries over into even like I don't know if you want to call them production cars, but like carbon monocoque supercars and things like that.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at those chassis, like on that sort of scale,
crazy.
yeah, but they like it's again, it comes down to aesthetics, like form versus function.
Yeah.
They don't those mounting points, they don't look good because I mean, yeah, you just have to like lay up this crazy thing.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
this, they do look
almost couldn't really tell where they were. We had to like put them in, and then the outside layer pretty much covered most of
You
that.
can make them look good, but I'm saying some stuff's going on there.
Yeah. I think
Fair enough.
I mean, it depends on you, because when you guys did, I assume you cured the outside skin first, then you bonded, or did you bond the honeycomb and the outer skin all at once? Because my experience was I always cured the outside skin first, let it dry, and then did the honeycomb, because if
Yeah.
you cure it all at once, the honeycomb wants to push through the outer layer.
I
and
wasn't
then you have a
directly involved
texture.
with the actual manufacturing of that part. That was a very dedicated team of people that stuck to that part of it and were very good at that. But yeah, we put that honeycomb in certain areas of the chassis, so it wasn't everywhere. It wasn't like the whole thing was honeycomb.
Yeah, because you don't really need it.
Yeah,
everywhere,
especially being
just-
aluminum. Yeah. 'Cause
It's an interesting.
still weighs something.
You can do so much with like the layup to change how it's strong in certain areas. It's kind of gives you the freedom to do whatever you want.
Boy, completely different topic, but that just like instantly clicked. I don't know if you remember seeing that software that generates like force vectors and like automatically generates like organic structures.
Oh, yeah,
For
yeah.
And so I'm thinking back to that and how
Things for additive manufacturing.
additive manufacturing, that's the word I was looking for, and how it's becoming relevant because of 3D printing, and that makes it like manufacturable at this point. But
3D printing is like another.
yeah, that just gave me an idea for like another
Should we
topic
have-
idea.
do we-
And-
do we
but I
have-
mean, I don't want to get too deep into that. My point for bringing it up is even the method and the direction in which you build up these mounting points and these chassis and
Yeah.
everything, it determines how forces and loads and everything are going to be
Right, yeah.
distributed then. So, I mean, that in itself is a huge factor in that layup.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not laid correctly, then
Mhm.
you may have a detrimental failure at some point, which could, I don't know, end up scrapping the whole project at some point. Depends what
Absolutely.
you're
What's
working on,
scrapping your
so.
whole car? Yeah, because
Absolutely. Yeah,
the
throw it
carbon
out.
fails.
You
Yeah, I
can't,
mean,
there's no.
When it
We were
fails,
talking about this
you're
earlier
done.
Yeah, it's
today.
done.
Yeah.
That's it. If it breaks,
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
You're over.
At
It's
the
not
same
like-
time, there's so many more benefits. Like during the time on that team, we had won an award for the best lightweight concept. We took as much weight out of everything as we possibly could. We ended up with a 330-pound car,
Oh, wow.
Jeez. It's good.
and with a WR 450 for an engine, the thing goes quick. Like it's a 300-pound car. So
Yeah.
you're talking like barely more than a motorcycle at that point.
Yeah, and I'd say for the people who aren't familiar with Formula SAE, like a 330-pound car is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fast.
New teams, you're looking at like a 500
Yeah,
to
I was gonna say
600-pound
500
car.
pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lightest car we ever produced when I was there was like
I mean, you just factor that into like
380,
just a
400.
average consumer level vehicle. Like we're
Right,
talking
yeah.
like 2,000-pound car versus like 6,000-pound car. It's
Right.
like a crazy difference.
Yeah, we kind of, because we had a 4130 chromoly chassis, but we actually removed frame tubes and then did a carbon fiber Nomex honeycomb sandwich panels, and then we cut those to fit in between the frame members and then epoxied them in.
Oh, wow.
So you can greatly increase your torsional rigidity of your chassis by just adding lightweight panels in there and using epoxy to bond them in place. So
Epoxy, man, that's a whole nother ball game too. God damn.
I feel like we have so much stuff to talk about.
So much content.
Those cars are no joke, and like they've only gotten more advanced since we left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
graduated
can't
in
imagine.
2013.
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
seriously. I wish I was around when they started like really digging into the electric stuff.
Yeah.
Because
That's probably
good.
cool.
In and out, but
The technology in the car is like everything's carbon now. It's carbon A-arms, carbon drive shafts, carbon anything
you can make
think
it out of
of.
anything, really. I mean,
Well, I remember
make anything out of carbon.
I think
make carbon out of anything,
2009,
okay.
one of the competitions is an Austrian team. They had a carbon monocoque.
Stuttgart?
TU Graz.
Graz, yes.
Yeah, freaking annihilate.
Graz, yes.
Any of those Austrian teams, any of the German, Stuttgart,
They have the
they all
nicest
annihilate.
carbon fiber you've ever seen in
Yeah.
your entire life, and you're like, how did you even make this? Like,
Just like
how much money do you have?
master level students going up against like undergrads. But anyway, like the crazy part of that about that car, other than the monocoque and the carbon A-arms, was they didn't have rod ends for their A-arm attachment. They had a titanium piece of flex steel,
a blade
blade
yeah.
that attached to their chassis, so the titanium blade flexed, and that's what gave them their movement in their A-arm. And I was just like, what?
We did that for our
Carbon fiber wheels too.
our sway bar
Like, those are-
adjustment. We had it instead of
Sponsored by Christian von Koenigsegg.
instead of changing the position in the sway bar of like where it's located relative to its rotational axis, you change the angle of the blade,
Yeah.
so it'd be more flexible in 90 degrees versus like as stiff
That's
as it can
actually
be.
like pretty common now and
Yeah.
kind of pretty attainable in the consumer level in terms of sway bars, but you're talking
Yeah.
a actual suspension arm, not just a
Which is
sway bar.
yeah, right.
You're talking sway bars, right?
Yeah,
He was talking
I was
sway
talking
bars.
Yeah.
sway bars.
You were
But
talking
yeah, but you were talking like
AR.
full
Oh
AR,
no, yeah,
like
but this is
full
different.
arms.
But yeah, I've done the blades for sway bars too, and they're
So
fantastic for.
Well, it's nice because
adjustability.
you can adjust them on the fly. Because that was always my biggest hurdle with like making suspension adjustments, especially with like street-driven cars and everything. Because
Right.
it's so hard to keep all the variables the same. But yeah, because like, if you think about it, even like a regular adjustable bolt hole style sway bar is like you gotta hop out, you gotta adjust some stuff. It takes you a bit.
Yeah.
And like being able to like on the fly be able to adjust something like that and
you can
be
essentially
immediately
hook it up
feel the
to-
change.
yeah,
a cable and a knob and like
Yep.
turn the blade.
Yep. Which is super cool.
yeah. We'll have to draw that out because like I understand it, but like I don't.
The blade sway
I'm
bars.
not. I get it, but like
Think
so
about-
it's flat blade.
It's like your end link, okay?
Okay,
Your end
right,
link
okay.
attaches to your control arm,
Okay.
right? And it attaches to your sway bar.
Right.
Okay. If you made that out of a rubber band,
Yeah.
what would your sway bar do?
Just flop
Almost
everywhere.
nothing, right?
Yeah,
If you made it out of a straight steel rod, it'd be super stiff.
Yeah.
Okay. Adding basically a flexible joint between those two and changing the direction in which it's turned.
So the blade,
because
it's like a knife,
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
because it only bends one way.
Right.
It'll
A butter knife will bend like this
Right.
really easy, right? And
Right, it
then you
won't
try to
bend like
bend it
this,
90
yeah.
degrees from there and you can't move it.
Right.
So that's what it's
So that's the
essentially.
adjustment in the blade style
yeah,
sway
that makes-
bars
that
is you
makes
just
more
change
sense.
the angle to change the stiffness.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't change the sway bar.
No,
it changes
changes
the
the-
input to the sway bar.
Right. With the reading it's getting from the road or suspension, like
The
other.
force is being transmitted
Right.
through
Correct.
the sway
Yeah,
bar.
okay.
Yeah, the center of
Yeah,
the
it
sway
makes
bar.
more sense. I figured that's what it was. I just wanted to get a clear explanation on that so that I was clear.
It is
and other
tricky.
people-
Look it up. That's one of those things
Well,
you
it's
kind of
just-
got to see it.
If
Yeah.
I'm not understanding it fully, then people listening
Yeah.
might not understand it. So
Right.
I figured that.
Ask the question.
That's pretty cool though. I didn't know they even
Yeah,
did
just
that.
look at blade sway bars. I always use my hand as a reference. Like you can flex.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
no,
but it's
I
a little
was
hard
kinda-
to do
I
in a
was sitting over here, I
podcast.
was
We're like,
doing this,
yeah,
I
you
was
just
like-
do
Another
one of
visual
these.
reference.
Well, yeah, because like it'll bend like this, right? But
Yep.
like it.
If you rotate
Yeah.
it till you're trying to bend all four of your fingers, it's
Yeah.
stiffer. So that's
Right.
that's where the increase comes
That's
from.
pretty cool. I didn't know they did that.
Well, we went from
The more you know.
down a sway
Yeah,
bar
that's
hole there.
completely unrelated. I don't. Yeah.
Well, it just
Well,
goes to
it's still
show
good
like
information.
how like what level that these Formula teams are like doing. It's
Yeah.
you know, it's
Well, it all goes into one thing, right? It's not just carbon fiber. It's
Right.
everything.
How you use it. It's all on how
Right,
you use
yeah.
it.
I mean, there's different.
That's what she said.
I mean, especially if you're building a 300-pound car, like. So, yeah. I mean, everything counts.
So-
Also, what she said.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good point to probably wrap it up here. I think
Yeah.
we got a couple good ideas for subsequent episodes.
I think I'm interested enough to maybe fiberglass
We even
something.
have a
maybe do this like
Turner,
small
Maybe.
guy.
Yeah, I knew that existed, but I didn't want to
for your
Wow.
visual
bat out
reference.
some false information.
Okay. That makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin's got the visual reference
Yep.
here for
Yeah.
Dave to understand.
What is the? Yeah, we'll post.
See,
it later.
typically, where you see how that's got like a bolted
Yeah.
arm.
Oh, you got to
So
do
you
is
you
Google
basically
sway
would
bar
hook a
blades, and
cable
you'll
to
find a
that,
picture
and
of
you
how
would
And you
they
could
work.
adjust it on the fly.
yeah,
Okay.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, you got a
pretty
little handle in your cockpit. You can stiff, soft, move it back and forth, and lock it in the adjustment.
cool. That's pretty cool.
That's like the only way that I
I know, I
think
like
I would know
and-
for
and,
sure.
like, for me-
oh, that's
for me,
better.
we,
Ooh,
like,
that's worse.
You
now
don't
that
need that
we've
for a
kind
drift
of-
car, though. You don't need it for a drift car.
It
we've
depends
kind
on how
of
much power you make, but
gotten into this tangent of something
Mid
that's
corner, you're
unrelated.
adjusting the stiffness.
But I
I think
still
you grab
think
the hydro. It's like your sway bar.
I still think sway bars is one of the best upgrades you can do for any car, honestly.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Well, all
Eh,
right.
We're okay.
yeah.
We're all right.
Well, no,
wait,
because
stop
that's what
that.
that's
Dave's in
stop that.
episode
So-
2000 here.
Yeah, so that's
I don't
like
even like
a-
sway bars, so I don't even like.
Well, no,
Dumb.
for me, like
Shut
just
up, Shane.
driving top heavy Volkswagen front wheel drive cars, like
No,
sway bars really
don't.
make a difference.
Don't open this can.
Yeah.
I'm opening
Yeah,
the can.
you're gonna
Kevin.
know.
You're on the
We'll
next
talk about it
episode,
later.
Dave.
Okay. We'll talk about it later.
All right.
All right. Well, are we
Come
done?
on. Yeah, I just want to see how abbreviated your sign off is
My
these days.
sign-off?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a
Listen
shot.
to
here.
Well,
us.
actually-
Listen to us on things and follow us on social media.
Kevin's
Thank
gonna
you.
interrupt you.
I'm sorry that this is going to make noise, but we had some follow-up questions.
Oh, we did. Yeah,
Hey, we should
we
probably-
are gonna do those.
Oh, I
Keep
didn't
'em
read them
coming.
yet.
Yeah.
I know that.
touching Kevin's
I know
foot.
that there was a few messages coming in here and there.
Sorry.
God, come on, Kevin,
I'm
figure it
get-
out.
Why is your phone so radioactive?
I don't know.
It's cancer.
I didn't want that. Okay. So,
Oh, my
wow.
Lord.
It's really like.
Does
it's
it
doing
do
the
to,
thing.
to Will? If Will holds your thing, does it happen over there?
So Engineering Raw again followed up with us and asked us if we can like talk about reading dyno curves, dyno graphs in general.
That's a good one.
So touch on that eventually.
Sure.
I don't know.
This
if
guy's
it's-
We
been-
did actually talk about
Yeah.
doing an episode more so on like dyno testing and how we use
Yeah.
that for development and everything. So I think that could
That
tie
would
in
all-
pretty
We already
well
had
then.
that episode.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oops.
Yeah. No, we definitely had that episode. We didn't talk
Okay.
about
Maybe
necessarily.
we can-
Oh, that's
the
right. So
curve and,
we did
like-
dyno, and I was thinking like strain gauges and other forms of
Yeah.
road testing that we didn't do. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
Also related to Formula SE things.
Yep. Yeah.
But reading dyno curves and like actually understanding what when people say like max power gain versus like
Oh,
the
yeah.
actual
Yeah.
peak
I
gain.
I do
things
always
like
have
that,
a tricky
like,
time trying to explain.
It is good to understand what's going on when people advertise numbers when
Mm-hmm.
the graph maybe doesn't represent what you think it does initially, and you can get some false readings and stuff. So that's
Yeah.
an interesting topic to cover. I think it's worthwhile to
Yeah.
bring up.
For
So,
sure.
Shout out to Engineering Gra
Yeah.
For
Keep the
his,
questions
uh,
coming.
Yeah, keep them coming, dude.
questions.
We
'cause
appreciate
he's-
it.
He's killing the game over here.
Absolutely.
You guys
He needs
are
some competition, so the rest of you need to step it up. All
Yeah.
4 of you.
all four.
We also have probably a full episode talk about service modeling that we never.
Yeah,
really
that's
dove
so
into.
we were thinking about like keeping that as like in our back pocket for this composite episode because we didn't know if we were going to talk about how we end up designing these carbon
Kevin's
parts. We
bugs are
touched on that in
attacking
the
me.
beginning. Shut up, Shane. Yeah, where are you on the knob, Dave? You're supposed to like turn them down when I'm trying to talk
No,
here.
we
I'm
don't.
just
We
kidding.
don't. We don't. We don't.
We don't
This is a
discriminate.
normal thing. Will
Welcome,
just shuts
Shane.
me
Welcome.
up.
Yeah.
Shut up, Will.
No, that was in our back pocket for this one, but we'll definitely keep that
Yeah.
in the pipeline for designing stuff. So
Sick.
we hope this has been informative.
So
Yeah.
Dave,
feel free to do your spiel.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm not doing a
we're
spiel.
timing you this time. Hopefully it takes
All right.
less than 7
Listen
minutes.
to us on things you can listen to podcasts on and follow us on social media. Thanks. Have a good night.